What's up, gang? Wanted to address a few of the questions that I got on some of my comments in my last few vlogs, and one of the main questions was, can you explain programming? How do you program and what does that look like? So this is probably going to be a multiple part video, simply because there's a lot to it and I'd like to get your questions on it. So let's start. Programming. What does that mean? Creation of a workout. For whom, for what, and for what purpose, what goal, right? So I'm really going to speak to main general physical preparedness, CrossFit for 99.9% of people. We can do a whole episode on competing, as I've competed many years and programmed for many competitors. But I think that what is probably more important to most people is, how do I get results from a general physical preparedness perspective? How do I look good naked? How do I get stronger, fitter, faster, and stay healthy? So when we think about programming, we want to think about a few basic guiding tenets and led by the goal. So people are going to work out a couple times a week. 3 consistently is consistent for most. If you get 5 to 6, you're in the rarity, and I'm probably speaking to the rarity. Now, with that said, what I like to think about is, across a week, we have simply one main focus, a benchmark, a test, something to test your fitness. And if I want to get that done in a week, I put that somewhere, Monday through Friday. I try to mix that week up, and this is, and basically what I'm saying here is what we do for the hand plan, our programming, myself, James, and Spencer do. Once we place that in the week, now that's, call it a benchmark workout. Diane, 2159 deadlifts and handstand push-ups. Now I can, and this is obviously based off so much other analysis, right? And when we analyze workouts, we basically break down movements that we've done, the repetitions, the loading, the distance, the duration, and the actual movements themselves. Then from there, we try to fill in the gaps. That's simple variance, right? Hey, what haven't we done? Let's do it. Let's mix it up. You start with big picture stuff, from actual benchmark workouts to actual timing, loading, repetitions, and then the movements. Those are the big things you think about. And then when we actually think about a creation of a workout, well, we have force times distance over time equals your power output. Power is equal to intensity. Intensity is equal to results. Therefore, when we think about intensity, we don't program for intensity and we don't program for power output, but it is a massive guiding tenet. We program for variance, and we program for functionality. So we do things that have a low power output sometimes, right? And that's okay. But when we think about movements and movement patterns, we think about complementary movements, a push and a pull, like in Diane, a push in the handstand push-up and a pull in the deadlift. Thus, you can move fast. That's why those workouts are super high intensity and yield some unbelievable results. Now, going across the week, what you want to think about, and what we try to think about, is, all right, well, we're going to try to have most workouts around 15 minutes or less. Maybe one of those workouts a week are going to be a little longer, right around the 20-minute-ish time domain, sometimes a little longer, and that's okay. Then from there, we try to, maybe we have one heavy day throughout the week. Yes, we should have a heavy day throughout the week. And I hear a lot of other philosophies on this, but it's going super heavy is not super sexy, but it is an important aspect of strength and conditioning. Now, the strength and Metcon concept, where I'm going to do a lift and a Metcon every day, the miss there is that it's too much volume in one day, and there's no purpose to do that much. What's the rush? If we're just going to front squat 5 sets of 5, that's the workout for the day. We're going to warm up appropriately, get nice and warm. We're going to get that body ready to rock. Then we're going to drill positions that are hard to hold under heavy load. Then we're going to load up, build up to our working sets, and hit our working sets. And then from there, we're going to do a nice cool down stretch, or maybe a finisher with some accessory work. So when we think about those days, absolutely we need those days. No different than we need the shorter Metcons. Those shorter Metcons are great days for high skill work, more warm-ups, where you're going to need more of a warm-up for those shorter high-intensity workouts. So these are things that we think about when we create workouts. There's also nothing wrong with a multi-modality day, multi-session day. Let's take Diane. If you have a very veteran skill and based gym, you could absolutely do Diane and then maybe pull a heavy double overhand deadlift for 3 or 5 after the workout. But make sure, if you're going to do a double session, whatever is secondary, it should be second. And unless it's a lifting day, the lift should be second. So again, there's nothing wrong with it, but if we do it every day, we're no longer in the world of variance, we're in the world of repetition, and you're going to fail by that repetition piece. Of course, you're going to get stronger by doing periodization things every single day, but we might not get fitter. So just because you're seeing results doesn't mean we're optimizing those results. Now, when we program in thinking we have gymnastic, weightlifting, and monostructural movements. We like for them to be balanced across the week. You're going to see more gymnastic movements moving your body through space than weightlifting. Monostructural movements you're going to see sprinkled in there throughout the weeks and the months. What we also try to think about when we program is, can we give our athletes a focus for the month, whether it's maybe a little more lifting, a little more high skill work. What that does, it's not necessarily a bias, it's more or less a targeting towards something that is easily left out, overstimulating a little bit to get some gains. And I think it's important for people to see small wins. In the beginning of your CrossFit coaching, CrossFit career, you'll see a lot of gains, but as we progress, it takes a little longer and a little longer. So, again, when we think about programming, this is for the general population. We want to think about keeping it unbelievably simple and being varied enough to get all different types of stimulus. So if we're going to do Diane one day, maybe the next day we're going to go a little longer. Why don't we run? And then from there we can, maybe do some version of a, we can squat maybe, whether it's with the barbell or unloaded. And since we did a couple the day before, maybe we do a triplet. And then why don't we throw in maybe a rope climb, right? So we run, we rope climb, and have some version of a squat, as an example. You could do all sorts of things, and maybe you make that a 20-minute workout. And then the next day, maybe we go heavy with some version of an Olympic lift, right? And that Olympic lift maybe being a snatch, right? And we can play with this, and my mind goes to think about, and what I try to do when I program is poke holes in everything, movement function, things that can easily be overused is going overhead a lot, squatting too much in all different variations. There are movements you're going to see a good amount. Worry less about, deadlifts and running, you're both using your legs. Yeah, but what's the movement function? Are we pulling? Are we pushing? Is it an upper body pull, lower body pull, so on and so forth? That's the basic premise of it. What did you do yesterday? Do something a little different from a macro perspective. Dig in deeper from a micro perspective, and again, the devil's in the details, but you can have analysis, paralysis by analysis. So you want to dig in, but it doesn't need to be super complex. It doesn't need to be multiple parts and work and rest and this domain and all that bullshit. Remember, when we program for the best and we scale for the rest. Therefore, we program for the stimulus. Yeah, we put a prescribed up there, and that's inspiring. Do we need that? No, but I think it would be a lot harder to write down on the whiteboard, all right, for this workout, 21, 15, 9 deadlifts and handstand push-ups. We want this to be a load that allows you to do the first 21 in no more than 3 sets, but preferably 2 sets to unbroken. It's something that you could double overhand and deadlift it, but you're probably going to mix grip it. Oh, God. That's a lot to think about, as opposed to when you put a weight on the bar. 3 to 5 members in your gym should be able to lift that, prescribed. And that's what the RX means, and then we scale down to that. It also allows us to push the thresholds of what we're able to do. And again, worry less about safety here, because this is not a discussion on coaching. This is not a discussion on mechanics. This is not a discussion on scaling. This is really a discussion on programming. We have a whole other discussion on how do we scale and coach people to be moving well and to the proper stimulus. But when you program, think about, we program for the 3 to 5 athletes in your gym. And some days no one might go RX, but others, 50% might go prescribed, depending on the workout and the level of complexity. But if you program for what you have, you'll never get what you want. Therefore, we need to be pushing our athletes through and through. Experience is vital. You need to be doing workouts. When I just did a workout on the hand plan, I do every single workout we program in the hand plan for the most part. If not, I try to catch up. We try to test them. We ask each other questions. Myself, James Hobart, and Spencer Hendel, we practice them. We do different parts and pieces. And this allows us to learn the stimulus when we program and it's appropriate. Not every workout's perfect, but we try our best to do it ourselves and then overlay that. And it's not about us, it's about the stimulus we're looking for. Okay? So that's another thing. When you program, it's not about you. No one cares about you. It's about everybody else. So, and about the goal. Programming for competitors, we'll save for another day. It's actually a lot easier when the more elite you get. It's a little more challenging for the intermediary to sort of the athlete that's trying to get to the next level, but we'll talk about that and how we handle that. Adding an extra volume for your general athletes, we can add that, talk about that a little later, but it's basically really simple. Most of us need to practice a little more, move a little better, but accessory work is super fun, and that's a good place to add that volume in, and just make it a little complementary to what you're doing that day. So if you did a little push, do a little pull, make sure the volume's not too high. Midline's never, is never something that people shy away from. But overall, in the macro perspective, that's what my mindset is when we program. And programming out probably no more than 2 weeks is what we do. Looking back probably a month, if not a year, to that respective month. We try to repeat benchmarks about quarterly. These are just things that we try to think about when we're doing this stuff. And then we just try to make sure we're doing a lot of high skill stuff, constantly evaluating. Here's the nugget. Get feedback and apply it. Hey, we haven't done this. You're right, we got to do this. Or hey, I'm going to change this workout because of this or that. Love it. Between myself, James, and Spencer, we program together. We give each other feedback, change workouts, and none of us have an ego about it. Therefore, we really get to deliver the best programming out, in my opinion, because there's 3 of us constantly evaluating, analyzing, and delivering feedback and implementing it. The minute your ego gets in the way of your programming, you're probably not a good programmer. It's not about you, it's about them. It's about the best product. It has nothing to do about you. And that's so important. And you need to do thousands upon thousands of workouts to truly understand the intimacy of the workout and its effect on others. So the more feedback and the more people you can have to give you feedback on your programming, the better. Don't program via committee. We don't do that. One person in programs, then we analyze, evaluate, give feedback, then we implement. So that's my discussion on programming for now. Hit me up with the comments what you think below, and we'll dive into the next part. See you later.